We see the interesting phenomena that quite often many of us are willing to live strictly on hopes of the future, oftentimes concerning what we may accomplish or what we would accomplish when we only try. What are some simple examples? If I wanted to, I could have an amazing career and I could earn so much money. I just don't want to. Maybe one day I will. If I wanted to, I could really get in shape and be one of the most aesthetically pleasing individuals in the area. So to express it, right? If I only wanted to, then I could be a great artist, singer, writer, actor, actress, and so forth and so on. Hopefully, we get the point. And yet, the punchline would be that apparently I don't want to. And I don't want to, perhaps, especially because I don't want to give up the potential for glory, for success, for the reality, which might not be so glorious, which might fall far short of that which I envision. Right? If I wrote a book, it would be the best book and it would be a bestseller. And perhaps I can live on that if indefinitely till the end of my days rather than risking writing a real book, which will fall short of the ideal to some or another extent, which might not be a bestseller. And even if it is, well, there's always higher bars to meet. Right? If I tried out for the the role of a movie, right? I could be a star actor or actress if, but I won't, right? Because I know perhaps in reality I wouldn't make it, or if I did make it, it could be a limited role. So the bottom line is that apparently we're quite often content to live on our dreams of what could be rather than to realize or to attempt the realization of our aspirations and risk being left kind of disappointed because they fall short of what we envision. Let's try to briefly offer kind of at least superficial diagnostic of this kind of dynamic and then think about how it can be perhaps overcome. That diagnostic could be along the lines of that. Each of us, by definition, is self centered. Each of us has only a first person point of view. I, whoever it is that I am a center to which everything else exists. I know in principle there's a lot of other people, but from each individual point of view, how it is that there's a general concept, if that, again, assuming the mental possibility, somebody's old, not a child, we get the idea, not an infant, knows about the idea, right? There's a big world, there's a big population, and I just have this general idea of humanity, and then there's several people that exist to me as distinct individuals amidst that general notion of humanity. Right? I understand that intellectually. I can say, there's a huge history before I was born, but conceptually, it simply exists to me as some kind of blur, right? The reality is here and now, and that's perhaps how it has to be, because aside from theoretical abstractions concerned with space and time, experiential space, for example, is in light of the position of one's body, left, right, up, down, and experiential time is in light of the position of, shall we say, or the realization of one's desires and intents. For example, right now I'm realizing my desire to eat dinner, and this is now. It's in my immediate present. And before I had the desire to walk up the stairs, and that's what I did. You get the idea, right? So it's not a problem per se. It might rather be a complete necessity to think like that, but it can be an explanation. I am, by definition, by necessity, at least initially, self centered. And therefore, it's a bizarre and paradoxical and very threatening and unpleasant idea that actually, or objectively, so to speak, it, reality does not in the slightest conform to what I am to myself. To myself, I'm a center, but if I kind of switch things around and try to think of things from some kind of quote unquote bird's eye view or from somebody else's point of view, I'm just the speck, just like everybody else is at most a speck. To me, I'm just a part of that general concept of humanity, right? So from there, we can perhaps understand why each individual would ideally have the external conform to the internal. Ideally, my reality, what I consider to be objective reality, would match my inner reality of self centeredness. Right? I would really be the biggest star to everybody. I would really be known by and appreciated by everyone. And if that's not my thing, I think of myself as introverted, quote unquote, some kind of other superiority, some kind of other objective reason to really truly be in the center and not only in that universal, necessary experiential way. So that's just the conceptual kind of analysis why we harbor these dreams of grandiosity, these woulda, coulda, shoulda. But now, as for the question of how we can overcome that and overstep that, it could be offered that we have to set things in their place. Right? In my inner life as a rational, intelligent, sentient human being, right? I can and should advance myself indefinitely. There's no kind of cap to the value, to the importance that a human being can have from the internal point of view to him or herself. However, to the world, so to say, right, that which I translate into physically, historically, economically, that is certainly finite and finite by necessity. To myself, I can have an inordinate degree of value, but to my employer, there's a set amount of value that I have. To history, so to say, there's a set amount of value that I have. Perhaps I'm just part of the general idea, the workers of the 21st century, right? Just like historically to me, everybody else is part of such an idea, right? The people of the 20th century, the 19th century, the 18th century. That's what I can be to history, for example. Right? To other people, I'm a satellite. I'm not the center. To myself, I'm the center. So if we put things in their place, right, and we cease trying to derive the infinite from the finite, we cease aspiring for eternity and absoluteness and perfection from that which can never embody those attributes, such as our body, such as our success, such as our career, then perhaps we can be freed up simply to try to generate as much value as possible by way of our individual attributes. I don't need to write the book in order to write some book. I don't need to be the singer in order to be some singer. I don't need to be the most successful person professionally in order to have some professional success. I don't need to be the fitness cover model in order to have some success in fitness and be a little bit healthier. Again, I'm not expecting infinity from the finite or even kind of its illusion, because obviously nobody can get the infinite from the finite, even if I'm the ultimate cover model or multi-trillionaire, whatever. It's still finite, but at least the illusion then is created, right? Oh, look at me, I'm at the top. So I don't need that. All I need is to be the best that I can be, create as much value for myself and others as possible. And that, of course, requires the realization of one's aspirations. For the sake of self idolatry, for the sake of self centeredness, it suffices to say coulda, woulda, shoulda. Right? If I only, I would be this, I would have been this. If I only tried, if I only put myself out there, it suffices, because then I can live in this bubble, this kind of dream-like state of, again, self-centeredness and self-idolatry. I would be the most important and I would be number one, but right, forgetting all of that, forgetting that nonsense, I don't try to do that at all. I simply try to, again, realize my aspirations per my abilities and make some contribution, slight as it is in the whole of things, to the whole, to the society of which I'm a part, to the family which I'm responsible for, to myself being the individual that I am. Right? And there, then hopefully I can be freed up to do as much as I possibly can. Let me tap my potentialities. Let me tap my abilities to the utmost and see what happens. I'm not expecting anything from them which they cannot give me. That can only come from my inner life, from my human development. But I am enthusiastic and willing to make the most out of them in reality and not only in dreams and fantasies. Thank you for listening.